Welcome back to the classroom, guys. This evening, we're going to talk about dimensions. Last time we talked about text. Now we talked about its. Now we're gonna talk about its companion, which are dimensions. Dimensions are very important to understand in CAD because, well, frankly, when you print out something, it needs to have dimensions on it. Otherwise, uh, it doesn't really work for technical drawings. So now we're gonna jump into the classroom. We have our 12-minute timer ready over here. And let's begin now. All right. So when talking about dimensions, of course, we need something to measure. And so we're gonna create a sort of simple shape that will let us explore the many types of dimensions. So let's say let's go this way and then remove orthographic. Let's go this way to make it an angular thing. That way. So we're gonna make like the front of a car. The wheel here and then trim that away and trim away the rest. Okay, so now that we have our shape, let's move on to the real topic at hand. Before going into dimension, sometimes you might want to just see uh, how long a section is or a particular part of an element, whatever you're drawing. But you don't really need dimensions to come out. So the command for that is distance. This is a measurement command and it will give you the value, but that's that's just what it will give you, a value. So the command for distance is DI. That's the first two letters once again, English. DI. It became DIST, which is for distance. And then if we specify this to this, it will show us that it is actually 40.8521 units. It's an odd number, but we'll take it. We don't really need to be super precise right now. We're just going to be showing how these dimensions come about. Now, that's distance. What we wanted are dimensions. So that means it has to have arrows on it and or architectural markers that delineate the end of the dimension and the beginning of one other. And like text, dimensions also can be styled, and the command for that is a very simple letter D, which will bring up the dimension style dialog box. So right now in this drawing, it has three dimensions. The dimension styles, there's an annotated one, an ISO 25, and a standard dimension. And right now, we have ISO 25 identified here as current, which means all of the settings for ISO 25 will be used for the dimensions over here. Now let's take a look at them. How do we do that? We click on it and then we can click here. So we click on it like so, and then we click modify. So the next dialog box that appears controls the entire the behavior of the dimensions that we generate using when we're on this style. So what you have here, we have lines here. This controls how it looks like over here. So you can change the color of the dimension line and it will change over here. This is like a live preview. So for example, you want that red, you can see that the dimension line color turns red. The extension line, which are these ones, we can turn it red as well if we wanted. And even the text, if we wanted it to be red, we can identify that as well. Let's put it on green right now so it will be more visible to us. So yeah, you can explore and play around with the settings over here. There's a lot of them, but mainly the important ones are these: the color, the offset. This is quite important because it allows us to move uh, the beginning of the extension line from the point over there. So for example, let's put this on, what did we measure earlier? That was 40, right? Let's just put this at, let's say, 8. So it's a factor of 40. So you can see here that all of these are under 8, so we don't see the extensions over here. So if we try this out right now, uh, we need to be, the dimension needs to be beyond 8 before it shows up some extension lines. We also have here a tab for symbols and arrows. You can identify what you want over there. Personal preference will be the tick, and then arrow size is 2.5. These are also units. And then, yeah, there's some more options over here. You can explore all of these at leisure eventually. But for now, we'll set it at that. And then this one's current. And let's try it out. First dimension type, very important, is the linear dimension, which is how you create dimensions. Is you preface it with D, and then the type, the first two letters of the type dimension that you want. So for example, we want a linear dimension that starts with Li. The command, the quick command, is DLI, dimension linear. See, it became dim linear. And then we can choose to measure from here to here. And then you can see that there is a gap. This gap is 8 units. And then this is the measurement. Now, what if we have a slanted line like this? We can measure it the same way, like that, or we can measure it aligned to it, and that is called an aligned dimension. Align starts with AL, so the quick command is DAL, dimension align. And when we try it out, it looks like that. Okay, what else could we measure? We could measure actually angles in between entities. If we want to measure angles, the command is D angle DAN. Dimension, angle, angular dimension. So we're going to measure the angle between this and this. See, it now wants us to select the first reference and then the second reference. And then we come out with an angle here or the reverse. What else could we measure? We can measure the radius, dimension radius, DRA. And then if we have a radius, we also have a diameter. Diameter it starts with di, and so the command is di, dimension diameter, and we get something like that. Uh, Another important technique in measurement is you can actually do a continuous dimensioning. So, for example, you were doing a house with a lot of windows. Let's say this is the front of the house, and then let's make a second one here. And we want to measure, let's get rid of that. We want to measure uh, the distances from here to here, here to here, here to here, this gap here, and so on and so forth. So the conventional way is just to do a linear dimension and then use the command again and remeasure the next one, and then again for the next one. This is a normal way of doing it, but there's a faster way using the continuous, which means basically continuous dimensioning. So what that requires is there must be first a dimension that is created, which the command will base its movement from. So we start with that. Okay, so we just released that command over there and we ended up with a dimension. Now we want to continue measuring. So the command is the CO, continuous dimension. And then you just click on the points that you want to measure, and all of them will line up nicely from the first one and then come out with specific measurements for each next uh, point that you identify. So there's just like 15 seconds left. We will continue on uh, the next series of annotations are more geared towards detailing, and we will get into that on the next 12-minute classroom. So I hope you guys are safe, and yeah, see you next time. Bye, guys.